Now, here's Mark.
All right, and welcome back. We are here with Mike Paris, founder, CFO of BlackPine Communities. How you doing today, Mike?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Thanks for coming down here on a Saturday morning. Appreciate it. Now, BlackPine Communities is your development company. You're building residential homes. Tell us a little bit about your business.
You know, we're basically a merchant builder. And it's really been my goal and vision is to stay true to building homes, not houses, but really building quality, memorable homes around the community.
Now, memorable homes, what do you mean by a memorable home?
Durable.
Okay.
I really like personally the idea of focusing on architecture, on focusing on things that matter to people that live in the homes for a lifetime. And I think one of the things I've always wanted to do in my career was to be able to drive by the homes I build or the communities we establish 10, 15 years after the fact and feel good about it.
Yeah.
And they're still viable, they're still relevant, and they're still there.
And so BlackPine Communities, you've got a handful of developments in the Sacramento area. Can you describe those developments and how they contrast? So you got you got the one in Roseville,
right?
Named after your daughter.
That's right.
Tell us about that one to start off with. That one's a cool story.
Yeah, you know, it was really we acquired the property in 2010, and it was a tough time in the business, and we basically sat idle on that property for a couple years. We launched the community in fall of 2013, and in just the process of really trying to establish what we were doing, I wanted to create a community that was special for the area, which was, one is the architecture from an urban style brought to a suburban environment. And just when you go through naming and trying to understand how you're going to identify yourself amongst all the other competitors in our business, Molly's Walk, who's my daughter, it just kind of stuck.
And what does she think about it being named after her? Does that fire her up?
You know, at first
she's gotta be proud.
Yeah. She at first it embarrassed her, and then she thought that's really cool when she saw what we were doing. So.
And now Molly's Walk. What's the walk? Why do you call it Molly's Walk?
Well, we've got a little community park up there within the community, and we wanted to do something that was kind of special for that area. And it was just when I was walking around the community, it was like this is a great walk for Molly and I.
Yeah.
There's a street in there called Matthews Run, who's my son. So it just kind of goes back and forth a little bit.
I love it. Now, I grew up in Roseville, and so that's my hometown. I live in Loomis now, but so I'm very partial to the developments, and that is, I guess, considered a suburban area. That's what you're referring to as a suburban area. And now you're building stuff right in the middle of the growth in Sacramento.
Yeah.
Which is, are they different types of architecture?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Tell us about those.
Yeah, we just opened the Creamery in Alkali Flat. It's a really cool neighborhood. It's at 10th and D, right downtown. We're as I say, we're 5 blocks from everything down there. And it's a large community, and it's a repurpose from an industrial site back to a residential site, but very contemporary, stacked urban flat styles down there.
Yeah, I walked through those with Marcus, my son, and Greg Van Duzen. And we were amazed at Marcus wanted to move down there. Right? He's in his 20s. He's like, I want to live here. But I know they're very upscale, and you've got clients that are not just the younger generation, but there's people that are just saying, hey, I want to live in this area because all the growth that's going downtown, going in down there. Yeah. So who's the customer base for that? You
know, when you go through starting a community and evaluating it, you ask that same question: who's going to buy your product? Who are my customers? And in our business, it's really unique because you have different generations, different lifestyle requirements. Downtown has always been, more recently, where we've had all this energy going in down there. But what we really wanted to know is who really is going to be our customer once we had a housing choice that was going to be what they were looking for. And surprisingly, when we opened the Creamery last Thursday, and through a little bit of the lead up in our marketing campaign, we found that about 62% of our buyers that came in were older than 55.
Oh,
which was amazing to me, but yet extremely exciting because it really talked about the generational shift that people want in their lifestyle.
Yeah, those really aren't the entry-level homes. They're very upscale. I know your brother, he's done a lot of ironwork for us, and as you walk through, you see his craftsmanship throughout your different projects. How is that working with your brother on that stuff? How's he doing for you?
You know, it always starts out rough, but always ends up great. Typical brotherly love and going on. 2 of my brothers work with me a lot in the ironwork stuff. My younger brother owns High Hand, and he does a lot of our landscaping and did our model park.
High Hand Nursery, right? Yeah. There's all the brothers went to Del Oro, and you guys all have this entrepreneurial side to you for the most part.
Yeah. I think it's in our blood.
Great. And you and I have mutual friends, Rob Awalt, who's been on the show. Debbie Hammond is also a mutual friend. How important is networking for you in the real estate and development business?
It's critical. I think in every business, it's the relationships that make it successful. And I think in our business, where we have such long times to get projects launched, you have to build a strong network of financial partners and various stakeholders from insurance to mortgages to warranty to marketing. And it's mandated that you get a team together that really knows your vision, but can execute the way you want it done too.
So I think you may know that I have a real estate company, Haney Garcia Real Estate Group. We've got like 25 agents, mostly focused on the South Placer area. But how important is your relationship with real estate agents, and how does that become nurtured from a developer standpoint?
Well, from what I do, the real estate agency provide us an expanded sales force. Okay. And I think it changes a little bit by the location of where you're building. But for example, downtown, where it has not been a traditional housing market for generations, it's not easy to know where things are. And I think that community is absolutely vital. And we reached out very, very significantly to the real estate community months before we opened, knowing that we needed to get our message out there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And thinking about your inner circle, who would you consider to be in your inner circle? Is it 5 people, 2 people? Is it you and one other? How big's your inner circle?
We have key people that have been working with me for many, many years, and I think part of it is you, as the president of the organization, is you have to have a vision. You got to have a plan, and I think it's finding those people that will help you execute that plan. It tends to grow a little bit as your interests move and your requirements change a little bit. That's one of the transitions I'm in right now, where I'm starting to have to be more visible and more vocal on behalf of the company. So my inner circle is getting a little bigger,
okay,
and it's getting more important. The relationships are getting more and more important.
And in terms of stepping outside your inner circle, so we talked about that a little bit at the beginning of the show. Sometimes people are reluctant to do that. Was that easy for you? You've got an outgoing personality, but was that easy for you, or did you run into any challenges in going and breaking your routine?
Personally, yeah, because I'm kind of a quiet guy. I tend to fly under the radar, so I had to press myself. I had to ask myself to do things that were out of my comfort zone, and I had to basically go out and meet new people to share in our vision on expanding, people I didn't know, whether it be bankers or even convincing our insurance carrier that we're a good risk for them to underwrite.
And in building your business, you're kind of a startup. Even you have several projects going, and you've got big growth plans. But you're really a startup. But yet you've been in the industry for a long period of time. Give us a little bit of the history of your building career, if you don't mind.
I came out of college, and my first job was a stockbroker. And I did that for many years, and then I just realized, it was not where my passion was. I got into real estate, and through a mutual relationship, ended up starting up a division for a national home builder out of Chicago called Kimball Hill. Worked for them for about 16 years, and the company ultimately didn't make it through the recession, and did a couple of interim jobs, CFO contract type jobs on some other startups, and I just had to get back to my passion. So, my path has really been through a long, long tenure in home building. Wore a lot of hats, from operations to finance to management to supply chain management on a national level, and it was perfect for me to do what we're doing, because some of the key people, the people in my inner circle, as you asked, were people that had worked with me prior. And so there was a very seamless way for us to get our business off the ground and just come out of the ground running,
How difficult was it? You're in a leadership role at Kimball Homes. You've been building homes for a long time, and then all of a sudden we run into that financial crisis, and Kimball Homes goes down with the economy.
Yeah.
What kind of difficulties did you run into personally?
It was personally very deflating. We had a wonderful company, and some of the economics and the things that caused that firm not to go forward should never have happened. But at that time in our economy and in our business in general, There was a lot of bright people who had no idea what to do, and compounded by the fact that the founder and the owner of the firm got ill and passed away.
Oh,
so the spirit just went out. And I can tell you that, you know, a lot of the platform and the character of BlackPine is a function of what we created at Kimball Hill. We really worked as a very entrepreneurial company. Even though we were national, we were still very much run by a group of people that got along and just executed well. So it was tough.
And you bounced back. What would you say in your career, right? Yeah, I know you had some interim things. You were part of building the fountains, right? The shopping center there in Roseville, and you've done a number of other, custom homes, kind of one-off type of CFO stuff because you're a financial guy. But what was the key to you really bouncing back and launching that? Where did that come from?
Just passion. I just love the business. And home building is one of those businesses. You love it or you don't. And when you hand keys to somebody to their new home, their first new home, and they're crying, wow. It's an amazing business. It's tough. It's very hard, but it is incredibly rewarding. And I think that's the passion that drives what we do. It's very tangible, extremely tangible.
I'm Mark Haney. You're listening to Entrepreneurs Unlimited. I am here with Mike Paris, founder of BlackPine Communities, and we will be back on KHDK Sports 1140, streaming live, podcast, and YouTube at haneybiz.com.
Once again, here's Mark Haney.
We're here with Mike Paris, founder, CFO BlackPine Communities, and I'm kind of chuckling a little bit because of our new radio music, right? And I don't know what you guys think out there in Radio Land about our new music. It was inspired by my son Marcus, so thanks Marcus and Clint. Appreciate you guys. And if you like that music, or if you think it should be altered in some way, tweet us at HaneyBiz Radio. I'd love to hear from you. We've got Mike Paris back here. He's sitting in the plaster concrete chair. I don't know if you knew that, Mike. That's the plaster concrete chair. It's got a guarantee. It's guaranteed to crack. If you bend back on it a little bit, it's guaranteed to crack, and it's guaranteed that nobody will ever steal it. So welcome back, Mike.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about you and about your company and about the different developments. So you bounced back from the recession. You started BlackPine Communities, and it's growing. I guess my question is, who has been key for you? If you could name one person that has been key in your renaissance, who would that be? Besides yourself, who would that be that really stood by you and helped you build this thing?
It's not one person, but I would say that, Dan Murphy, my lead construction manager, was there from the very beginning. And I think part of it is he shared and trusted in my vision and helped us nurture that forward. And it just kind of grew from there. A couple, Doug Eby, who runs our supply chain right now, again, worked with us in the past. I had to lure him away from another job and take a risk and take a chance on what we're doing. And he thought about it, and I've never forgot his response. He called me back, I think a week and a half, 2 weeks later, and said, I'm going to miss the chance to do something that's really fun. I liked working with you guys. We had a great time, but he says, I'm never going to have this chance again. So, I'd say Doug and Dan were just absolutely vital to me being able to execute out of the block.
And if you could say something to those guys right now on the radio, what would you tell them?
Thank you. Their work is tireless, but it certainly, I feel like we've set the table, and they've been a huge part of it. And I think, we're really setting ourselves up for a great year, which it'll pay back for them.
What does the BlackPines brand stand for?
I think the word I've always hung my hat on is durable and timeless. I feel like, we're doing things that people appreciate. We take a lot of pride in what we do. All of our associates tour the projects. We go out there and spend a lot of time. I encourage them to get out of the office, get out in the field, and when they come back, they feel very proud about it. And I think our brand is really being timeless and durable, but architecturally relevant. These homes are going to be there for people's lifetimes. They're going to be there for 100 years from now. And I think it's important for all of us in our company that we feel good about what we're doing.
Security is becoming such a key part of our way of life, our existence. And I know in a home purchase or deciding what community you want to live in, you think, is that a safe community? How are you guys addressing that growing concern in our society?
Yeah. Well, it's, aside from the basic parameters and security of walls and doors and windows and all those things, I think basically, we try and look at building communities and creating communities for people that take ownership. I think security take for example, the Creamery. We went into an area that was probably not well known for being a residential community. Now it was, originally, we turned it back into that, but part of what I see developing out there, which is what I had hoped for, is the ownership and the pride of ownership. They end up owning the community. And that's when you really see that change happening and the environment just grows with it. So it tends to create its own security and its own sense of place that you just don't have otherwise. And that's partly, I think, designed around, how we provide our product.
So the private sector has a responsibility in providing some security.
Yeah.
How important is it for the public sector, right, the police and so on, to jump in and provide that kind of security as well? How important is that, and how's that relationship work?
Yeah. It's very important. I think the challenge right now between the public sector, the police departments, and the homeowners is they have to work together. I mean, there's obviously, as the communities grow downtown, for example, it tends to outpace their ability to service some of those areas. So there's a lot of relationship between that. We do, provide products in the homes that are interchangeable with the police department, and we work with them on how we establish our communities, how the walkways are lit up, how the traffic patterns are done, and just general ways that the communities live better and safer.
Where does technology play in building a home these days?
Yeah, it's they're about as technical as you can get as I've ever seen in my career, from energy standards that we have in California to the technologies related to security, for example. The wireless systems today have made security far more advanced, far more mobile, and far more active than they've ever been. So homes are very smart. They're very, very smart today.
Yeah, you hear a lot about the smart home, and I know you're catering to that millennial in some cases, but even the 55-year-old guy is a lot more savvy than he once was in terms of security, or in terms of technology and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Where do you see home values going from here? They've gone up, obviously, in the Sacramento area in the last few years. Mm-hmm. What do you see on the horizon for home value?
It's a difficult question. We've come out of a period where it was very difficult to even evaluate that. And I think home values in our region right now are strengthening. I think what I look for is just stability and what's reasonable in the market. We can't have asset values run away like we encouraged in the late 2006, 2007. That was really not sustainable. So for me, I see home values and home ownership increasing. I see our standard of wages and things that support those values continually on a nice, even, parallel path right now. So I think the future looks good.
So who do you think was most responsible for the home values escalating so fast and causing, most people would say that caused the financial crisis?
Yeah.
Where do you, if you had to lay blame somewhere, where would it be?
Wow.
I told you I was going to try to bring up something controversial.
Yeah. It wasn't one thing. I think there's a lot of checks and balances that were just out of sync. Obviously the mortgage markets played a lot into who was able to buy homes. And I can tell you, and looking in the rearview mirror, there were homes sold to people that probably shouldn't have been buying them. It's changed. It's tightened up. The requirements to buy a home are much, much more rigid than they've ever been. The requirements between the people underwriting the ability to buy homes have gone up exponentially.
So you expect the homes prices to go up a little bit? I know that's a tough question, but where would you, is now a good time to buy a home?
Absolutely. What we've seen is there's been a kind of a pent-up demand, and you've seen that in the rents. Rental rates have gone up to the point where home ownership is actually more favorable today than it's been in a long time. So it's going to lead into more home ownership and appreciation at the same time. So, if a 3 to 4 to 5% home price appreciation would pace where we are in our economy very nicely and be healthy for it.
Your son Matthew has a street named after him. Your daughter has an entire community named after her. But I also know that your son Matthew's involved in the business. What's his role in the business, and how is it working with your son?
It's been great. He's been working in our sales offices, filling in on the days off for a lot of our sales consultants, and helping out with us installing a program called Envision, which is an online option selection program that we're rolling out next month.
And does he report directly to you?
Yes.
And when you have to crack down on him, what's the best technique for that?
Be nice. Yeah.
He sounds like now your kids are both athletes, so they probably come with that. And you were an athlete. You played college football at Weber State. Your kids were excellent athletes. What kind of how has that helped you in your business, and how does that help the kids as they chase their dreams?
Athletics, I probably saved me in a lot of ways because it put me in a position of discipline, but you learn so much by playing. I tried to pass on the messages you learn about adversity and failure and how to get up again and how to go in with the right attitude, and I think, my son and daughter are both great athletes in their time, but in different ways. And that message is for me is what kept me going, even in the darkest times when things weren't going right. It's like, get up and keep going. Keep working on the right things.
What keeps you up at night today?
Planning the next move, making sure that the decisions you make are correct. And I mean, as we've grown, the associates we have and the families that are now, your responsibility and your decisions impact more than just yourself.
There's so many people relying on you.
Yeah.
And what are your growth plans? You've got these 3 projects that we've discussed. I guess we haven't discussed one of the projects you've got going, the Curtis Park project. So you've got those 3, and I know you're talking about doing stuff out of state. But what's the plan for the Sacramento area?
We'd like to we measure our growth in open stores. So we'd like to actually open 2 or 3 open stores next year. That's kind of our goal, to where we could be 5 or 6 open stores in the region.
When you say open store, what do you mean?
Open, active selling communities.
Okay. Yeah. And so you expect how many next year? I'm sorry.
We'd like to get 2 or 3 more. So we'd have 5 or 6 going.
And where do you have locations picked out? Or are those still kind of is that confidential at this point?
Well, we're certainly talking with a lot of people. We're qualifying, where the best place for us to grow and keep our brand value strong, and what we can go into areas where we bring value as well. So we're looking at different areas that fit our product and our brand right now.
Do you prefer the suburban or the infill, or right in the middle of town?
I probably, to maybe answer that correctly, I love the downtown. I love the activity. It's difficult building down there, but I think we've done a good job on figuring that out. But I also like going into what I say boutique markets on the outer edges a little bit, where there's a little bit of opportunity to be unique.
And what's the most difficult part right now in that growth? Well, you must be running into challenges.
Time. Trying to get things done. Downtown, you have a lot of 100-year-old water lines. It's just connecting all the infrastructure and the time it takes to get the home. When you get to the home building side, that's the easy part. It's just getting there.
Very interesting. And one last question as we sort of wrap up this segment. So there's entrepreneurs that are thinking, hey, I might want to leap out there and start building some houses, or starting some kind of company. Maybe it's real estate, somewhere else in construction. What advice would you have to an entrepreneur that's thinking about jumping into the game like you have?
Talk to a lot of people. Make sure you do your homework. I think, obviously you got to have a passion for the business. It's a difficult business, but I think have a vision, have a plan, work your plan.
I'm Mark Haney. We are hearing the Mike Paris story, which is very exciting. A lot of great stuff happening at BlackPine's community. Coming up after the break, you are going to meet Candy Jackson, who has turned selling women's makeup into a beautiful, pink, entrepreneurial empire. You're listening to Entrepreneurs Unlimited on Sports 1140 KHTK, streaming live, podcast, and YouTube at haneybiz.com.
Once again, here's Mark.
Closing thoughts about venturing outside your inner circle. As an entrepreneur, I still believe that the majority of our time should be focused on our inner circle. Our family, our friends, our key suppliers, our customers. But it is worthwhile to venture outside your inner circle, even if it's outside your comfort zone. And I believe that making hundreds of friends is a miracle, but there's no miracle like making one friend that would stand beside you against 100. That's really the true miracle.
You bet.
And So I'm kind of a shy guy, even though I got a radio show. My wife said, we go to a party, she says, "Oh, don't be the shy guy tonight." And I am that way a little bit, and I have to come out of my shell. But I want to tell you a quick story about a time where I ventured outside of my comfort zone. I went outside of my circle. So I'm in and it paid off a little bit in the end. I went at an industry event, meet somebody who I would have never expected to marry in a way, and he was a competitor. I jumped outside of my comfort zone and had one of my competitors come up and start just talking to me.
And this is when you were in the security business.
In the security business, right? We had the second largest security distributorship in the country, and the owner of the largest company in that same space came up and, "Hey, how's it going, Mark?" It was right after 2008, so the financial crisis had happened and so on. And it was before that, actually, when I first met him. And, we kind of saw each other a few times around, and I knew his son from a trip that I had spent in for Panasonic in Japan.
While you were networking?
While I was networking, yeah, in Japan. We have a little R&R. But anyway, so we're at a trade show in Vegas, and I'm walking down the hallway after getting done working out. And this is when I decided I'm going to go for 2 workouts a day, okay? So I'm walking down this long corridor, and coming up the corridor, it's like a 100-yard corridor, I could see these 2 guys walking along, and I'm like, that could be Steve Roth and his son, right? The largest guy, right? So, and he had done all kinds of big successful things in the security industry. And as we're passing and getting closer, didn't know him very well, but I realized that was him, and they were talking to each other, and we passed each other, right? And I kept walking down they walked to the health club, and I walked to the elevator, and I'm like, am I going to push the button and go back to my room and get cleaned up for the show? No. You know what? I'm going to go back and talk to that guy. I want to get to know that guy. So I run back. They didn't really notice me. So I run back and I jog up, and I'm standing next to him to sign in to get in the health club. And they're like, "Hey, how you guys doing?" And acted like I hadn't seen him before. And we talked. "Mark, how are you? Great to see you." And I signed up and I did another workout. So I'm working out side by side with the guy, doing my second workout. I guess I wasn't sweating too much initially. But anyway, doing that second workout, and we got to talking. And we ended up exchanging some cards and emails and so on. And the next thing you know, we're talking about a merger. We're talking about putting the number 1 and 2 independents together to create the dominant independent distributor in the security industry. And so we ended up closing that deal, and it was of significant size. That company now has got sold a few more times and is the largest security distributorship in the world. And we now purchase from them out of our security company.
Right,
but anyway, you never know. Jumping outside your comfort zone does sometimes pay off in the end. We did a 1 + 1 = 3 kind of transition, and it all started with me sucking it up, coming out of my comfort zone, not being the shy guy, working out 2 times that day, which I don't mind doing anyway. And I guess I would say to all you entrepreneurs out there that are thinking about jumping outside of your comfort zone, let me help you. Let me help you. That's what this show is all about. If you are a motivated entrepreneur, I want to meet you. If you are on fire about building your business, if you eat, sleep, and dream your world of building something, I need to meet you. And if you are one of those guys that says, you know what, I am going to change the world, I'm telling you right now, I got to meet you. I need to meet you. So there are certain people out there that are going to change the landscape of Sacramento. Mike Paris is one of those guys. I want to meet the Mike Parises of this world. You call me. You call Marcus, get in touch with me, and we will do this thing together. We will change the landscape of this community together. So God bless all of you guys that are taking the risks out there, going the extra mile, working the 15-hour days, whatever it takes. You know what? You guys are the guys that are making it happen, and I want to be by your side. So God bless all you guys. God bless America. Never above you, never below you, always by your side.